Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing author goddesses of a new book we have coming out, The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care, 25 Tools for Goddesses. This book is juicy, you guys. Welcome, authors. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. This is fun.
Okay, so I have Debbie Prediger, and she is on a mission to connect heart-centered entrepreneurs, leaders, and world changers with those that need support, vision, acceptance, and unconditional belief in themselves. Del A.D. Jones is a principles practitioner specializing in the area of codependency and narcissistic abuse. Jennifer Moore is the author of Empathic Mastery and a master trainer for EFT International. She teaches women how to release empathic distress and use their brilliance to thrive. And Dr. Pamela Poston is a transpersonal psychologist, author, and Qigong, I don't know if that's right either, Qigong instructor whose work features techniques for mind, body, and spirit to promote healing and transformation. You guys know that I should get a trophy for reading bios. I really should. Like all of the P's and the alliterations and so I practice. It goes well pretty much. So before we get started today, let me say a big thank you to Anna Pereira, the founder of the Wellness Universe, the lead author for this entire book series that we've been working on. We would not be here without your love, support, and guidance, Anna. Thank you so much for getting this amazing crew of authors together for these books. So, okay, Debbie, we're going to start this party with you. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Well, I am chapter 6, and the title is actually Empowering You, Stepping Out of Fear and Into Love in 5 Steps. And that wasn't easy. This is my first time writing. So I really needed your support and your help, Laura. And I just really appreciate you helping guide me through that journey. And really what this, we have so many stories. And for me, it was coming down to which story do I tell? And now that you've pulled this out of me, it's like, of course, this was the story. This is where it all started. This was where that true awareness of when I was running from my emotions and when I decided to stop and really embrace them and choose my emotions. So yeah, thank you for your piece in that.
You're welcome. And I know that in the beginning, when people come into these projects and they're doing this for the first time, it takes a lot of courage. And it also is difficult to choose one story. But I love what you just said about that. You said, of course, this was the story that I was going to tell, without giving it all away. Can you talk about that for just a minute?
Yeah, it's not giving it all away. So it really comes down to that I was running away. I was distracting myself. I was running away from my emotions, but I didn't know it. I thought I was doing good things for other people, and I was. But when I look at it now, I was really, the driving part was I felt unworthy. I felt like I had to do for others in order to be lovable. And that whole investigation, that whole awareness has now led me to helping others truly decide what's right, driving their bus, what's pushing them and what is getting in their way. And then, like all of you, we help them get out of their own way and then truly live the life that they desire.
Yes, exactly. And really, honestly, all of you are sharing these beautiful awareness tools. And that's what you're making me think of, Debbie, in terms of your chapter, but all of the chapters. Anytime I get to think about something in a new way, it's just this little tiny moment of healing. And it's fantastic. Those little tiny moments can change everything, right?
Exactly.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so let's move to Del. Tell us about your amazing chapter, Del.
Hi. Well, I'm in chapter 9, and my chapter is called A Spiritual Solution to Low Self-Esteem. And I told my whole story. not just one story. I gave you the whole little sort of broad brushstroke of, I used to call myself the poster child of low self-esteem. And I gave my life story to illustrate how I started to sort of feel the way I did about myself. That was before I came across this understanding called the principles, which, thank God, after 30 years of therapy and a million other modalities of healing, it was the principles that actually really, really helped me. So I was very excited to share the principles in the tools of my chapters. So showing how I sort of just let that all go and embraced life and showed up very, very differently. And most of my work is with, sorry, just going to say codependency and narcissistic abuse. And really the core of codependency is that low self-esteem that has us settle for those abusive relationships and not, think we're worthy of more. So
yeah, powerful stuff. So the principles, you're making me think about this, and this is why we need every voice, because there are so many different ways to journey, and I like to journey one way. Someone likes to take the journey another way. Someone hears it in your way and tries something, and everything changes, and we need all of them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was on a spiritual journey for 30 plus years before I came across the principles. And I was, I tried everything. I mean, I joke it was ayahuasca in the desert and sweat lodges and Buddhism and Kundalini yoga and everything. And it all helped. I mean, without a doubt, it all helped. But there was just something that I heard differently. As you say, something just caught me in a different way when I came across the principles, that just really everything I'd already heard just suddenly went from my intellect, like sort of dropped into my being. So that was why it was so exciting for me.
I love it. Of course, I do these interviews being privy to everyone's chapters, right? So I'm like sitting around going, well, I can't tell them about that part because then they won't buy the book. They're going to need to read these stories. So your chapters were all so amazing. I'm going to say a quick thank you to all of you. I say this every single time in every single interview to every single one of you, and I mean it. You all step up in such brilliant ways to share yourselves. And you're vulnerable with your stories, and you just really put it out there, and you model badass to me. You just all are like that. And I love the way that we're changing the world with both the stories, but also the practical tools, because it's one thing to read a story and resonate and get excited, but then what? And so I really wanted the then what in these books, which is these beautiful tools that you guys are teaching in the words of the book. I can't wait for people to get their hands on the Goddess book. Jennifer, tell me about your beautiful chapter.
So my chapter is chapter 24, and the title is Sugar Freedom EFT Tapping for Food Cravings. And I chose to do this for the Goddess book because so many of us struggle with food issues, with sugar addiction. And I think that no matter how many affirmations we say, no matter how much we try to love ourselves, if sugar's got us by the throat, or any other kind of food craving has just completely got us like in its clutches, it's not going to work. And that in order to really make changes, we have to deal with the physical things first. And so my chapter talks all about what an absolute hot mess I was as a younger woman, and what it felt like to be in the absolute grips of a devastating sugar addiction, and the tool of EFT to really lift the distress, the agony, and just the way that we can be so completely consumed by like that 10-pound bag of Halloween candy, or whatever it is that we are just continuously trying to control. So this is from my own personal experience. Giving up sugar was one of the biggest life-changing things I've ever done, and I knew I wanted to share this with other people so that they could really have the freedom to access the goddess within.
I love that you wrote about this, and I'm definitely an EFT and tapping fan. There's some profound changes that can be made at this level I didn't even know was possible.
Yes.
It's like you feel this thing, whatever the thing is for you. So you're talking about the sugar addiction, and there's so many other things, right? But it's like
So
this
many other
just,
things.
it's like it lifts, like
Yeah.
it just, you feel like it's off of you. You feel like it's gone. I don't know. Tell me more about that EFT thing. Like, how does it work?
So EFT is a form of emotional acupuncture or emotional acupressure without the needles. And it's a way that we can reboot our nervous system, and we can shift the ways that we have probably been sort of stuck in these tape loops where we're just continuously reinforcing negativity, where we're continuously reinforcing the old difficult patterns. And the thing is, with particularly food cravings, what's absolutely miraculous is like I white knuckled through like 20 years of just like abstinence from sugar and being like, I'm just going to walk on by. And it wasn't until I discovered that I could use tapping to alleviate the cravings that suddenly it really did feel like it lifted. And as you were saying, EFT can be used for pretty much anything. I so far have not found something that it isn't amazing for. And in case you're wondering, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer. Dr. Pamela Poston, tell us about your amazing chapter.
Okay, thank you. My chapter is chapter 14, and it's entitled How You Can Be a Gritty Goddess, Claim Your Inheritance, and Live a Life You Love. I tried immediately when I heard the title of this book, I thought about my ancestors, the goddesses in my life, who have contributed their grit and strengths to me through both my DNA and behaviors and environment. And I just love doing that. I interviewed my 89-year-old mother for this book, and I heard some wonderful details about the lives of these women that I would otherwise never have known. So it's also a really good reminder to talk to people, talk to your ancestors, your elders while they're here so they can tell you these things. It was exciting. And I think she enjoyed it too.
I would imagine so. Your chapter sort of hit me in a way for the reason that you said just a minute ago. Like, I still have some people who are alive that I really need to sit down with. And it started to feel a little urgent when I was reading your chapter. You know, sometimes though, so I want to hear what you have to say about this. Sometimes they don't want to talk about certain things. Like, right. So how can you strike up a conversation that's going to excite them more than like make them afraid of, you know, what they're saying?
Right. Well, I think you keep the questions kind of open-ended, and you just say, tell me about your great grandmother, you know, so then they bring up the details that they like to remember, you know, and that was the way that went. Of course, like every family, you know, we had very serious situations in our family. We all do. And my mother was honest about a lot of it, and I appreciated that. But I think at her age, actually, she feels like this is life, this is real, and I'm going to be real when I talk about this. So I was lucky in that respect. But I think keeping the questions kind of open and allowing them to talk instead of asking pointed questions was a good idea.
Definitely. I would imagine that you had a lot of fun with that and with those questions.
I did. And I think we're going to write some more. Actually, I think there's a book there somehow, another one about this.
Of course there is. Yes.
But it also led me down a path of not only my ancestors' stories, but how they were genetically linked to me. And I find that fascinating research.
Oh my gosh, yes. You guys know that we published a little book called The Ancestors Within, right? Actually, we published two so far, volumes of knowledge about that one particular topic. And I love that you brought it into the Goddess book because it's important and it
Mhm.
really is going to expand people's idea of what's possible there. And seriously, it's like the whole mission, y'all, is let's wake up the world to what's possible in terms of healing. And that was one of the subjects, right? All of them are, they really all are. Okay, so I want to ask you all a question. I'm going to start with Del for this one, okay? Finding, I call it my goddess voice. Finding that voice was about sharing things that, I thought, oh, maybe other people might have some criticism about it. It was about sharing, even though I was afraid of what people might think, right? So it was getting over that purpose-driven fear and actually sharing the words out loud. And I was able to do that, I think, because of the purpose feeling there. It was something I was born to do, is to share those stories. So Del, what I want to know is, did you have any resistance to sharing your goddess stories at first? Why or why not?
Actually, initially I didn't, because I share my story quite openly, certainly with my clients, and I've been quite open with it. But there was a moment after I'd submitted it, I do have to admit, there was a bit of a, what have I done? Who's going to be offended by this? Or I had those sort of questions. But as you said, the bigger purpose is, I know that my story is quirky, very unusual. And I know that the feedback I get is, wow, if you went through that and you are where you are today, then there's hope for me too. And that is my purpose 100%, is to help other people. And even though sometimes I get reactions like, well, that was really awful or whatever, it wasn't all awful, because it all served to make me who I am today. And I love who I am. I love the work I do. I have no regrets whatsoever. I'm very grateful for every experience I went through. So yeah, that's pretty much my motivation, and my willingness to share openly is for a higher good.
Well, you speak about something that we are all doing. And when we share the stories, we're giving other people permission to share theirs and to talk about these things and have really great conversations about them. And I think that is so important. So even if there was resistance, getting to the other side of it and realizing how powerful that is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, I just said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Jennifer, how about you on this one? Did you have any resistance? I mean, you've been there, done that with books before. So how was this one for you?
So what I'm realizing as we're talking is that I think the thing that came up for me is that I talked about something that is not all like goddessy and empowered, but a lot more about what it's like to really be stuck. And particularly what it's like to be like in the throes of sugar addiction or food addiction. And I noticed, like, as I heard other people's chapters, I kept thinking, wow, yours is kind of like the dark, gritty, like chocolate smeared mess. And everybody else is talking about these sort of like glowing empowerment things. And you're just basically talking about, honey, you got to put the candy bar down. And so I think for me, it was more about that censoring the voice of like not doing it like just kind of that idea of, what it looks like to be empowered and what it looks like to be spiritual and kind of the rules of that. And yet instinctively, I know that this was one of the most significant things that I was able to do to change my life. And that sharing this just felt really like true and real and important. But I definitely noticed that kind of like, is this spiritual enough? Is this goddessy enough? Talking about being a sugar addict and talking about dealing with an eating disorder in a goddess book on one level feels like absolutely. But on the other level, it was kind of like, wow, that's kind of dark. So, so that was more what I noticed came up for me around this.
That's interesting to me. I think some of the darkness, well, healing those deep, dark places is what helps your goddess shine.
Yeah.
And I wonder sometimes if we shouldn't have said tools for modern goddesses, right? And how refined sugar is in the modern goddess's diet, right? And it needs to be out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I know that every time I've been willing to be real, authentic, and vulnerable, that's when the true healing happens. When I try to keep up appearances, when I try to look good, which is really in some ways what eating disorders is all about too, that I just find that's where I just continuously shoot myself in the foot and I keep it spinning my wheels. So for me, writing this chapter as honestly and as rawly as I possibly could was also about, in order to change it, I know I have to be honest with myself and be as vulnerable and real as possible.
Yes. And thank you for that. Okay. So Pamela, what do you want to add to this for you? How did you have any resistance? How was it for you?
Actually, honestly, I didn't. I think if I'd gotten into more of the weeds about some of the things that happened in my family, I might have, but I kept it rather short this time around. I think as a therapist, I have been there with people, and I know that it's the personal that really reaches them. They, their stories, and they need to feel a sense of universalness, if you will, so that they don't feel that they're the only one that's happened to. And so I think given that, I was good with it, with what I wrote. And also I really felt glad about being able to honor these women, because in our culture, I really have a problem with the way there is ageism. And maybe that's because I'm older now, but I think that we need to honor our elders and really take a good hard look at what they gave us, as our inheritance, with gratitude.
Yes. I think that's shifting. Yes, it might feel slow, but I think that's shifting, and it's shifting because of people like us who are honoring and writing and sharing those stories. I think that's pretty amazing. So thank you, Pamela. Debbie, was there resistance for you with this? Why or why not?
Resistance all over the place. So first of all, when I heard, I've bought the other 3 books and read them and loved them. And when I heard the name of this one, I'm like, well, that's one's not for me. So I'll go the next one or whatever comes along. And I actually said that to Anna, and she's like, what are you talking about? You're totally a goddess. So I really looked deeper into that and went, what is it about the word goddess that gets me? And I think that I've lived in my masculine for so long because I was part of that doer survivor mode, and which is all part of the healing that I've gone through. So when I jumped on with you guys for the call of the invite, it was like, of course, this is for me. This is what I teach. This is what I do. So that was my first resistance. Then my second resistance is, I don't know how to write. And I heard the old habit, the old teacher telling me, don't you know how to do this? So I heard all these voices, which again was part of the healing. And then there was what story do I tell? And does anybody actually care about it? So I had resistance all the way through. The post that I made, literally sick to my stomach as I pushed submit to you guys, was one of the most impactful posts that I've ever put on Facebook. People come out of the woodworks to say, oh my goodness, I'm so proud of you. And I didn't know that could happen. Mm. So this has been huge for me. And I submitted it, and then I didn't read it again until later. And I'm like, ooh, this is really good. I felt like I was reading somebody else's story. And that gave me the confidence that if I just stay in my heart and out of my head, which is what I teach, that wisdom is there and it's going to come through, and it's not my ego talking, it's the truth.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that. I know that feeling. And I so believe that in these projects that the collaborative energy also carries everybody. And we are all at very different levels with this. Some, total beginners to very seasoned. But then all of our energies combined, it's really quite lovely to watch people kind of move through no matter what stage they're in. And, Pamela and you, Debbie, are both making me think of something. In the beginning, I thought my story had to be the bad one, the worst one, to be book worthy, publishing worthy. And honestly, the more I write now, the more I think that we can also celebrate, and like Pamela was saying, honor our ancestors, honor, mom and grandma and great grandma. And it doesn't have to be the big, ugly, horrible story. There's no contest here, right? The different kinds of stories are going to resonate with different people for lots of different reasons. So we need all of them. We need every level. We need all the good, bad, and the ugly. We need it in every single different kind of voice, right? And so I love these projects for that reason. Okay, so Jennifer, I'm going to start with you for this next question. I'm coming around to all of you. Goddesses take care of themselves to the point that they serve from an overflow, at least if they're doing it right. So I want to know, what is your favorite way to take care of yourself and why? Pick one. You get to pick one today, okay?
Oh, goodness. I could easily just say tapping, but I'm actually going to say sleep.
Okay.
Because
I'm in.
Yeah. that I think that, no matter how challenging a day has been, there's that point where I can just choose to roll it back in and go hit the reset button and give myself permission to surrender to sleep. And I use tapping to make it possible. Sometimes if I'm feeling wired or I'm having one of those times where I'm not settling, I can tap to calm myself down and to go to sleep. But it just really feels to me like one of the most nourishing things I can possibly do is rest and, sleep, which includes napping.
I love it.
Yeah.
Perfect. That is high on my list as well.
Yeah.
Love my sleep.
Love the sleep. Sleep is good. Yeah.
Pamela, how about you? What's your favorite way to take care of yourself?
Well, I was just thinking about this. I love to be in nature of any kind, but my go-to place, which I wrote about in the last book, is the beach, which is where I am now. And but the other part of that is I need to be here alone. I need alone time to reflect, not to have to give anything out, as far as energy goes, but to be able to just kind of cocoon and replenish. And then when I'm finished, I'll know, and I'll go back to my life.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. I've learned that lesson the hard way. Sometimes, some months, right? And always need to go back to that alone time. And of course, if you can combine alone with the beach, then you're winning for sure. Debbie, how about you? What's your favorite way to take care of yourself?
Well, I think it is just being present enough to listen to what my body needs. What is that emotion that's showing up, and what am I choosing? What am I running away from? And just being present to just gather it all together, which includes sleep and alone time and all of the other things. But yeah, really listening to my own body.
I think that awareness is the key to everything, and that it depends on the moment. Your need can change. So of course, one day, I better sleep, right? Or else I'm going to be super grumpy. But other times I've got plenty of energy. I don't need to take the nap, but I need something different. And the listening is so important. Yeah, that's really, really, really key. Okay, Del, how about you?
Well, ditto on everything that's just gone before. So certainly alone time, being in nature. I'm very fortunate too. I live near the beach and just walking daily. But what also came up for me was really residing in my loving, really just, and which is, you know, I feel very much that we're made of love, and to constantly let that love flow through me and outwards. And I have to say the easiest way for that to happen is when I'm around my children. So that just fills me up. I just, yeah, that's is one of my favorite things, but it fills me up, as I say. It's a beautiful feeling.
Yes, it's that's got a high vibration, doesn't it? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all of us goddesses are in the practice of what vibrates higher for us. And in all of the ways you spoke of taking care of yourselves, that's really what that's about, is bringing that to the next level. But of course, the love has been a theme this week for me. I'm seeing it everywhere, feeling it out in all the ways. So gotta love the love, right? Okay, so I have one more question for all of you, and I'm going to start with Pamela for this one. Healers like to talk about themselves more as guides and facilitators. I really haven't met an authentic healer that loves the word healer, because we know it's about helping that person to connect with their inner healer, guiding them to that place in themselves. So what I'd love to hear from all of you, Pamela, you first, is what is one of the ways you love to empower your clients?
Wow. Well, I think one of the ways I like to empower my clients, first of all, is with my presence, as far as being there, showing through my body language that I'm engaged with them, because it's 90-10, you know, words are 10%. And the body and the expression is 90. But the other thing is, after actively listening, I like to help them understand what they've done right, you know, what they have actually done right in their lives, because so many times the human brain likes to focus on the negative. It's what we do. And so reflecting back what they've done right sort of gives them a little bit of a lift, and thinking, gee, I guess I'm not all bad or not a mistake, but I can do this thing. I can do some things that are right. And so building on that, I think, is the thing that I like to use.
I love that one, especially just, you know, clients, but also my kids. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, I mean, this is good for everybody that we're with, right?
Right.
Yeah, I love it.
I agree. Yeah.
Debbie,
and ourselves too. I'm sorry. I just
of course, ourselves
too. If we're giving ourselves negative self-talk, it's just it's counterproductive. So we have to remember to speak about the things we've done right.
Yeah, I'm taking out your notebook and pen once in a while and just listing those strengths.
Right.
And what went right. I love that. I love it. That's really, really important. Okay, Debbie, your turn. Tell me how you empower your clients.
So this one's super easy for me, because it's just everything that I do. And it's first and foremost is holding that safe space for them to really be able to see, hear, and know what they're meant to see, hear, and know. So I really just feel like I'm that reflection, I'm that mirror. When we're having a conversation, they're seeing what I see. I see the greatness, I see the love, I see the good, I see all of that stuff. And then they start to believe it too. But giving them that safe place to be able to flip what it is they're feeling and what they want to feel instead. So many of them will at first come to me and say, I don't know what I feel. They've been running from their feelings for so long and their emotions, they don't know. So really just giving them practice of what is it that you feel, just going through little things. And then of course, there's all sorts of other tools, but just being that guide and being that loving place that they can come to and they're accepted. There's never any judgment ever. And I don't think that anybody can have a thought about themselves that I haven't had at one time. So I can totally relate. And there's something in me that, you know, that natural healer, that I hear their fears. I feel it in their body. So it's very simple for me just to guide them a little bit till they feel it too. And then that comes out and then we can do something about it once we see it.
I remember early on in the hands-on work that I learned in physical therapy that, you know, people would talk about holding a healing space. And in the beginning of my career, I was like, what is this? What are they talking about? You know, I was just sort of learning about what that even meant. And when it came full circle to the aha moment, and that it was really about the presence. And Pamela said, active listening, that's part of it, because you have to be here now to do that. And what an incredible gift that is for people. So if people are listening and they're like, I don't know what that means, holding a space for other people. Well, it means that there's nothing to fix. You're just there in the moment with them as a witness, really, which I love about this.
Yeah. And I think just to add to that is that really each and every one of us along our journey has wanted that person to just do that for us. We didn't want it to be fixed, but we sure needed to be heard and seen and loved unconditionally, no matter what we came up with. And I think that was one of my biggest things, is that I was running away from my emotions so badly, because I thought that if I ever told anybody all of the things that had happened or all of the reasons, that they would just run for the hills. And so, you know, it was so much easier for me to be that people pleaser and doer for others so that they would stick around. And it was such a lie I was telling myself.
Yes. Oh my goodness. This is the stuff. This is the stuff of goddesses, ladies. This is so awesome. Okay, Del, how about you with this one? How do you empower your clients?
Well, a lot of what's already been said. I would say, for me, it's definitely, well, number one, meeting my clients where they're at. I don't have an agenda. I actually also, and it's not, I don't communicate verbally, but I mean, maybe it comes across verbally in places, but it's really holding that, knowing that everybody at their essence is perfectly whole and complete, and there's nothing wrong with them and there's nothing broken. So your client can sense that when you see that in them, regardless of the story, regardless of their thinking, you know that they have that resilience within them and that well-being. And also just, I think forgiveness for self and others is very important. And I think when people are able to see that we're all doing the best we can every second of every day, depending on our thinking and our level of consciousness or our, well-being, our state of mind or something like that. So to really be gentle with ourselves and let go of any judgments. And then when we have that for ourselves, we stop judging other people. So that's huge. So I would say those are pretty much how I'm there for my clients. And again, like you said, I don't see myself as a healer. I see myself as a guide, guiding them back home to who they are at their essence. They just got caught up in their personal thinking and forgot for a while who they are. So
that's a piece of what sums it up, isn't it? That, we forget who we are for moments, and then we come back to it and we feel a little bit more goddess-like in that. Yeah, that's really nice, Del. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Jennifer, you are going to close out this party today. Tell us about, so it's hard to go last on this question, I know, but tell us about how you empower people.
So I think, there's that saying, give a man a fish and he'll have a meal, and teach a man to fish and they're fed for life. And that's the thing about EFT, is that unlike some other modalities, this is something you can do yourself. This is something that you can learn to work with, and that when something comes up, you don't necessarily have to call somebody and get a session and do something, that you can tap for yourself. So I feel that one of the most powerful things I can do is give people tools that they can actually use, and that they don't have to rely on me or anybody else to use, that once they've got them, they've got them. That said, I also believe that the other saying that I absolutely love is that you can't read the label from the inside of the jar. And what I am absolutely brilliant at is being able to help people see the things that are hidden to them that are very obvious to me. And I approach my work from a place of, like, at the very, very core of everything I do is consent, as well as knowing that you know yourself better than I can possibly know you. And so, what I am here to do is to support people in finding, in acknowledging their truth, in recognizing their truth, releasing the stuff that is no longer serving them, and then creating a new set of strategies and way of approaching life that allows them to really thrive and shine. But at the core of it, for me, is respect, is consent, is just, and is also the willingness to adjust, to course correct. As Del was saying, no agenda. And I just think it's so incredibly important to have no agenda, that, just to really be there, to be present with somebody. And if I say something or throw something out and they're like, yeah, no, that's not really it, instead of being invested in what I thought was right, to just be able to be like, oh, okay, so then what feels right to you? And to just have that willingness to pivot, that willingness to course correct, and that willingness to adjust. That really feels to me like it's all about engagement, that I see the process as a collaborative process, not something where I'm some big foo-foo, that they come to and expect to fix them, as much as it's like, I'm here to support you in finding your truth. And when you get stuck, I'll use my superpowers to find where it's getting stuck and help you release it.
And you all have superpowers, that is for sure. Oh my goodness. Jennifer, Pamela, Debbie, Del, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here to share it with everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura.
So listeners, please remember to join us for our live stream book party coming up on December 7th, 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm going to gather with all of the Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care authors on Anna Pereira's Circles of Inspiration Facebook page, you guys. And we're going to be doing some really fun giveaways that day. So I hope you'll join us live. And of course, if you're listening to this after December 7th, well, get over to Amazon, because that means the book is ready for you to purchase. So we can't wait for you to dive into this 25 Tools for Goddesses book. And maybe you are a wellness practitioner who is ready to share your brave words in one of our upcoming best-selling book collaborations. Well, I'm waiting for you at bravehealer.com. Reach out, we'll have a conversation. And lastly today, everybody, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.
Thank you.